the environment that we've had at the United Supermarkets Arena has really made a huge difference. And I know we're excited about the game against TCU, 6 o'clock tip, so it'll be a little earlier. And, man, we just need everybody here because in preparation for TCU, they just got a super physical team that finds ways to win when they're playing through some difficult times. Had a tough time at UCF, but, man, they've got the right talent. And they've got a great rebounding team, and that's been something that we've been successful at. And I know Coach Dixon knows how to win a basketball game, and so we have a tremendous amount of respect for him and know we're going to need to be our absolute best in order to win. And we need to play better than what we did against Oklahoma State and give Oklahoma State credit. But, protecting your home court in the Big 12 is everything. And for us to win on Wednesday would be a huge step in the right direction.
Even in their losses, they are like right there. I mean, right on the bubble of potentially winning those games. What has allowed them? Is it the physicality? What has allowed them to be able to kind of stay in ball games?
Well, I mean, you can't watch them without understanding that he's done a fantastic job with them defensively, and I think their effort defensively, their team mentality of rebounding has really been the two things that to me stand out, and then finding who's going to score. I mean, they had a pretty significant injury on their roster that I thought was going to be one of the leading scorers in the Big 12. And, I think anytime that happens to your team, I know you're trying to figure out, like, who's going to be the next up. And I think they've gone a lot of different directions. That's what makes them really dangerous is they've got a lot of different guys that can score and make big shots, and we have familiarity with a lot of them just because one, we've recruited them, or two, they've either played for somebody on our staff, and I think their roster is developing like everybody's is. And the biggest thing to me though is they're really playing well defensively. Take out that UCF game, which they did the same thing to us, so you know what they're capable. We know what they're capable of, but they've been great at rebounding also.
Given what Oklahoma State threw at you guys in the second half defensively, how has that kind of helped y'all respond to help prepare for the better defenses that you guys are going to face later on in conference play?
Yeah, going back and watching Oklahoma State on film, their rotations at the guard spots, and they didn't put two on the ball as much as they did the first time we played them. So to see them do that, and teams are adjusting. So I'm sure TCU will have an adjustment that they'll make based off of what they've seen on film. And I think the biggest part of it is just keep playing no matter how it works out for you offensively, like handle the runs and don't let it impact how you compete defensively.
The lineup of JT, Fede, and Darian on the floor together, you haven't been able to use that very often, but I kind of felt like that would be one you'd be able to use. Is that even a lineup you're kind of still hoping to get more out of, or is it just kind of this is the rotation you kind of have to go with now?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think the lineup of Darian Williams with JT and Fede, just because of the nature of kind of where we've been with trying to keep people healthy, it feels like it's going to be more difficult to do that than and I think everybody saw Kerwin keeps making strides, man. I mean, that guy keeps working, and it's the day after the game and he's in the gym doing individual work, and he's not playing, and he's going to emerge again as a contributor for us. And Kevin Overton, and I think that guard spot we need to keep rotating those guys in, and with that lineup, I would like to see that bigger lineup, and I think it's going to be more specific to teams as it is a regular occurrence of putting them out there in every game.
You see similarities between TCU and Cincinnati, especially in terms of like how they shoot and defend the three-point line?
Definitely. I mean, I think the TCU Cincinnati is a good comparison with how well they compete on the defensive end and how well they have different guys that can score. I do think that the depth is probably, it's interesting to see because they got a lot of different guys that can play. And, every game, if you look at the Baylor game that they won on the road, I mean, they had guys that hadn't played a ton come in and make monster plays at the end of that game. So, and they ended up being a corner three, which won the game from a guy that we know well and played for Coach Linder. But a couple of offensive rebounds and plays around the rim of guys that were playing limited minutes. So I just think, man, you better limit every extra effort basket that they get and make it difficult on them, but they still have the capability of making really hard shots. and they have the talent to do it. So that's what makes the Big 12 fun. Is every night, you're gonna play a team that's capable of beating anybody in the country, and TCU has proven that by what they've done in our league so far.
You seem pretty confident after the game with Darian's status for tomorrow. After a couple of days, how's he reacted to rehab?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we're taking it slower just because we want to make sure we get him for the long run. Honestly, I do think it's a game time decision in regard to whether he'll play or not. But I will tell you that the rehab's gone in a positive direction, and we don't feel like it's a significant one. We do feel like that he's a game-to-game situation, but as far as Wednesday, I do think it'll be a game-time decision.
And you kind of mentioned, preaching to your players, to keep going even with an 18-point lead. I know it's a different situation, different games, but with what happened between Kansas and Houston this weekend and even last night with Arizona, do you ever show, hey, look at this stuff, guys. This is what can happen if you're not locked in?
No, I mean, we're showing all these clips and games. So even before we played Oklahoma State, because that Kansas-Houston game happened on Saturday, so that was a part of our Sunday, discussion pregame was how to inbound the ball, and that's where we did struggle at the very end of the game on a couple possessions getting the ball in, and we made a few changes, but I thought we got it in a couple times also, and it was positive. So I think every game our guys are understanding in this league that they come down to a couple possessions, and you never want to give anybody confidence in a way that you can control how you compete. And so all these in-the-game situations that we see, we show them to them, and we usually have a live session of film that communicates what we would do, and we want to learn from other people's mistakes and not make them ourselves.